Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel Kamesh Sharma. So today let us continue our vowels chapter. So in this chapter we are going to quickly revise what we had learned in the previous session. So we all know that we have six sounds. So in those six vowel sounds we have light vowel sounds and we have a heavy sounds. So what are light and what are heavy? So in English, we have A, E, I, O, U has vowel sounds. And in steno, the sounds that are called as O, A sound, O sound, E, and U. So if you quickly revise the previous session, so you will have an in-depth explanation when to use A and O, when to use A, O, and E and U. So when it comes to representation, the R sound is represented with a dot, whereas A sound is represented with a dot, E sound is represented with a dot. Now coming to the sounds O, U, these sounds are represented with a dash. Now let us quickly understand what exactly the exercise talks about. Now we have a exercise 5 which has only heavy sounds. So heavy sounds are called as a pronunciation like a, o, a, o, e, and u. So these sounds are to be stressed by opening your vocal cords. Now let us see the words which have a sound with a. If you all see the exercise 5 in the first line, we have the words with the a. So the first word we have here is the word called pa. So when it comes to the word called pa, we are going to pronounce it as a pa. So you guys need to stress the word rather than just saying it in your closed mouth. And how to write this? Let's understand. So in the previous chapter, we have a rules. So the students or the learners who did not go through the previous session, please go through that previous session so you will be able to understand the exercise 5. So in a word called pa, we are hearing a sound called ah. So whenever we hear a sound called a and o, we need to start writing these words above the line. So if you all observe over here, none of the stroke is written on the line. So the first word, the P, okay. So the first word pa. In pa, we are hearing a sound. So apart from a, we are getting a P stroke. So the how do we write a P? The P stroke is written in a 120 degrees, a straight line. So just start writing the straight line above the line and put a vowel sound, the R sound, which is coming after P. So now you must have a doubt. So in the previous session, we discussed about three places of a stroke. First place, second place, third place. So whenever you get a R and O, we always present the R sound or O sound only in the first place. So in this way, all the R sounds or O sounds, we have to start writing from above the line, and also we have to represent those sounds where either it is a dot or dash only in the first place. Now let's observe the second example, that is a word called palm. So the spelling of palm is Palm, where L is silent in this particular word. So if you all see here, the word palm, we have only the sound called a. Always first focus on the sound out of six sounds. Now in this palm word, we are hearing a sound. So always we need to start a and o from above the line. So the case one, that is writing above the line, is absolutely correct. And the second thing we have to observe, what all strokes are we going to write? So in a word called palm, one is P stroke, 120 degree straight line. Palm, another stroke is M stroke, which is a half semicircle. We can also call as a half is a semicircle called as a M. So these two strokes, we are going to start from above the line and join the strokes writing it above the line. That is P stroke and M stroke together. Now, after writing the strokes above the line, the third thing we have to observe where to represent this dot sound, because in a word called palm, we are getting a R. So we are going to represent with this as a dot. So where are we going to represent? As I told you, always the first sound of R and O, we have to put it in the first place of any stroke. So in this particular word, we are hearing this R sound for P, and we have to represent only the first place for P. So we are representing this dot in the first place of P. Another observation that we have to make, the R sound is coming after P. So we all know for every stroke we'll be having before and after, in the sense your left hand, your right hand. So the R sound is clearly represented, that is after P, in the sense towards your right hand. All right, now let's observe the next word. It's a word called balm. Now, first observation, we have to listen to the sound. So, out of six sounds, it's clearly heard that is A. So, whenever we are hearing a A, start writing from above the line. So, what all strokes are we going to write? Just write a word called balm, that is B stroke, and continue with the M stroke. And the difference between P and B is light and dark. So after writing a B and M above the line, R sound always represented in the first place. So that is coming for B stroke, that is after B. So how are we going to read this now? First read with a B, and after B read A, that is Ba, and continue reading the next stroke, that is M. So B, A and M sounds Ba. And the next word, we have a word called farm. How are we going to represent this? So first listen to the sound. So in a word called farm, we are hearing a sound. In the sense, we need to start writing the stroke above the line. Now let us see the second scenario. After deciding it's above the line, we have to observe the strokes. In a word called farm, we have a F stroke, start from writing above the line, and continue writing the downward R, that is far, and continue writing the M stroke. So this is how you present F, R, M. Now let us put a vowel sound R. This R sound is coming for F. So after or is it before? We need to decide. So fa, the R sound is coming after F. So just represent it after F. So how are we going to read this now? So F, R sound that becomes fa, and continue reading the downward R that becomes far, and continue reading the M stroke that becomes a far. Now let us see the second sound, that is O. So these are the words with the O sound. Let me take an example called Paul, P-A-U-L, Paul. So if you pick the word called Paul, you hear the sound called O, Paul, hey Paul. So the O sound always represented above the line. So start writing the stroke above the line. Now you decide which strokes are we going to write. One is P stroke, paw, and continue with a Paul, L. Another stroke will be L. So after writing the stroke, now you represent the vowel sound. The A and O always comes in the first place. Now you decide, is it coming for P or is it coming for L? The sound clearly comes for the P stroke, that is after P, that is towards your right hand. In the first place, you are going to represent with a dash. If it is a R, represent with a dot. If it is a O, represent with a dash. So how are we going to read this now? So read the first P stroke and then O sound, that is paw, and continue reading the L, that becomes a word called paw. So all the sounds, all these words, we are going to stress from your mouth. Though you have to open the vocal cords like a paw. Let's see the another example. A word called tall. The same example, the same sound, we are hearing AW. So we need to start writing from above the line. Now you decide the strokes. That is taw, T stroke 90 degrees, and L the stroke. After writing the stroke, the sound we need to represent in the first place, or sound, that is for T, which is coming towards your right hand in the first place. So we are going to read this as a T stroke, or that becomes taw, and continue reading the L, that becomes a word called taw. Now we have completed understanding the sounds of R and O, which comes only in the first place. Now let's go to the another segment, that is another set of vowels A and O. So if you observe the sounds A and O, the strokes were always written on the line. Now let's see the one example with the A. The first example, if you all look at, that is a word called P-A-Y, pay. So it clearly sounds A sound. So whenever you have A sound, always remember you need to start writing the stroke on the line. So in this case, I am writing a stroke called P, which is on the line. Now, whenever we are representing the strokes on the line, whenever we are start writing the strokes on the line, we need to represent this A and O vowels only in the second place. If you all observe, the vowels will be there only in the second place of the stroke. So even we are supposed to put the vowels only in the second place just because we are writing it on the line. Now you decide the sound which is A, is it coming before P or after P? It clearly sounds that A sound is coming after P. Just represent A with a dot, that is after P. It means towards your right hand side. Now how to read this? P, A, that becomes a word called pay. Let us check the another example of taking a word paid. So in a word called paid, it's clearly sounds with a A. So we need to start writing it from on the line because it's a sound. So what all strokes are we going to write? One is P stroke and another paid. Continue with a D stroke. So A sound is clearly coming for the P. Now you decided, is it coming before P or after P? It clearly sounds the A sound is coming after P. So second place, represent it in the second place and read it as P A pay, and continue reading D, and that becomes a word called pay. In the same way, let's quickly understand with the O sound. Now let me take a word called door. Door. So never ever look at spelling, just listen to the sound. So it's clearly sounds with the O sound called door. So start writing it from on the line just because the principal A and O starts from on the line. So D stroke is written on the line and continue writing the downward R. And now the O sound, A and O sound is represented in the second place. Now you decide, is it before or after? So again, the sounds clearly comes after the stroke, represent with a dash because it's a O sound. If it is a, represent with a dot. Now, how do we read this? D, O, do, and continue reading R, that becomes a sound called do. Hope you all understand me. Now, let's quickly understand the second word, that is dome. D-O-M-E, dome. Now, again, first listen to the sound, that is, out of six sounds, it is a O sound. Then start writing it on the line. The strokes, D stroke, which is on the line, and continue writing the M stroke. And O sound is represented, that is after D in the second place, put a dash. So do do and continue writing a N. In the same way, the word called shore, that is ish and downward R, is written in the second place vowel. And the next word we have bore, B-O-R-E, bore, that is B stroke written on the line, continue with the downward R. And after B, put a O sound. So B-O, bo, continue reading with a downward R. So now we have completed examples with A, O, A, and O, which is above the line, and A and O, which is on the line. Now let us see the sounds. The last two sounds, E and O. E represent with a dot, O represent with a dash. So we need to start writing if a word have a sound with E and O through the line. If you observe the E sound and O sound, these are written through the line. Now let's see the first example with E. The first example is written word called B. It's B. So in a word called B, we have clearly have a E sound. So start writing a stroke through the line, that is B stroke through the line. So whenever you are writing any stroke through the line, the E and O is represented only in the third place. So if you all look here, all the sounds are represented only in the third place, E and O. Now, after writing a B through the line, represent E sound that is coming after B towards your right hand. Put a dot. So how do we read this? B and E, D. In the same way, the second example states T, T-E-A-T. So through the line, we are writing a T and putting a vowel E sound at the end. The next word says D. So writing a D through the line and putting a E sound. That becomes a D. And in the same way, G, we have a P, B, T, D, J, J. So take this J, which is written through the line, and put E sound, that becomes J and E as a word called G. And the last word we have Fee, F double E. So take F stroke through the line and represent the E sound at the end. So F and E, that becomes a word called Fee. Now let's understand the last vowel sound with the U. So in the same way, all the vowels are written through the line. So the first word here we have a chew, C-H-U double O, that you pronounce as a chew. So this chew sound, U sound is written through the line. And the stroke way we use P, B, T, D, Ch, J. So take the light stroke of Ch, which is written through the line, and represent this with a U sound, that is dash after Che. So we are going to call this as a Che sound and represent third place vowel U, and Che and U, that becomes Chew. Now let us see the second example, shoe. So again the U sound is coming, write the ish stroke through the line, represent U sound after ish in the third place only. So ish and U is called as shoe. In the same way, let's take a word called lu. So write down L through the line. So first place for L is, this is the first place, this is the second place, and this is the third place. So how are we going to write this? So L through the line and put a vowel in the third place, that's after L. After L, this is before L, this is after your left hand and your right hand. So after L, put a O sound at the third. So L and O, that becomes a lu. In the same way, this is ru and this is woo, which is written through the line, upward R. In the third place, put a oo sound, ru, and for the woo, take W, stroke through the line and put a vowel in the third place. After W, that becomes W and O, the word call. So, till here, we have successfully learned what are the heavy sounds and how to pronounce the heavy sounds A, O, A, O, E, U, dot dash, dot dash, dot dash. So, please let me know if anyone do not understand any of these sounds or any of the word. Please put a comment so that I will reach out to that particular comment and we will discuss the doubts in the next class that when we talk about the exercise 6. So see you all. Have a good day. Bye bye.